LUCID is about that artistic blocking that your main character is living, and I was wondering if you had that experience in your line of work.
Yes, as filmmakers, we have many creative blocks that we need to overcome, and it feels like the process of filmmaking is often a problem-solving experience. So it's something that we really enjoy, sorting out and overcoming these problems when we're shooting. But it would be wonderful to be able to take a magic pill to take away the work that you need to do when you have a creative block. But it's something that we absolutely relate to, and it's something that we lived the whole time that we were shooting.
So your main character, Mia, is fighting against her own trauma, her own past. Did you use some of your own traumas to write that story?
Yeah, and I guess today, after showing the movie and sitting in the theater and being so excited to show everyone, I suddenly felt maybe like my heart was outside of my body, because suddenly you realize how like the movie is very deeply personal. So to have that feeling of sharing that, some of those things, personal details inside of the film, is a vulnerable place to be. But it's also essential, I think, for us to be truthful in the subject matter that we were trying to explore.
Yeah, if I may add on that too. Yeah, like to be, I think the experience of trauma, it's not always the big things. It's sometimes it's also just the small things. I mean, as an artist, when you're trying to push these things forward and you're constantly rejected, or there's all these obstacles, or there are people saying no, or you can't do it, the cumulative effect of these things is often that you begin experiencing a severe sense of self-doubt. Why am I doing this? How can I do this better? Is there something wrong with me? And I think the being able to kind of work through these things in the form of a story like this, I think has been, I mean, I don't know if I would say healing, but in a way it is. It's sort of been our opportunity to take these things that we've experienced as artists and the frustrations of it and the traumas of it, and almost sort of make it into something else. I think that's fair to say. I think that's fair to say that, yeah.
I was at the same time surprised and not surprised to learn that Caitlin Hagen is also a dancer. Yeah. So, and I thought about how all your characters, how they move and how she moves too. And what did you tell your actors? Because there is something about dancing in your film.
When I was first casting the role of Mia, I happened to be editing a music video for my friend.
This is short, and this is
I was editing a music video at the time for Marta Jakubik McKeever, and I was looking for the character of Mia for the short film, and Caitlin wasn't an actor at the time, but a dancer. And I was mesmerized by her dancing and her movement, but her expression, and she had this undeniable magic, I guess. So I met with her and found out that her little sister was also an actress. So perfect opportunity to cast this character that I needed to have a younger version of and an older version of. And the connection to them as sisters was really wonderful. But casting a dancer into as a leading role as an actor was, I feel like, a gift to us, because Caitlin, when they perform, they go in physically. So always the awareness between Caitlin and our camera to the point where I've never seen an actor do this ever, where they would always know where their center line was with the camera, so that if they were doing something that was really big and emotional, being underwater or other things that we did that were extreme, they would always have an awareness of where the camera was, so that they were able to be physical but still be in frame. And that is an amazing asset for us as filmmakers, because some actors, when they get overwhelmed emotionally, or they lose track of the frame or how that is. But Caitlin has an amazing awareness of space around them. And when they act as Mia, they're so different than their own personal way of walking and moving. Mia's messy and very heavy with the way that she walks, and Caitlin is graceful and like a dancer. So it was a really interesting way to move in, because she worked from the outside in. And to get into the character emotionally, she would do the same, with breath, or her physicality. All the dancing training came into that. Did you want to?
Yeah, just to second that, I've never worked, having been a cinematographer and having worked with a lot of different actors, I feel like I've never worked with another actor that has such a command of knowing exactly where she is at any given time. And as you said, the understanding where the center line is, even in the, doing an emotional scene underwater, she's still able to be completely present and also have that sort of technical sense. She'll often check, like, it's here, yep. And then she can just put it away. And then we don't have to worry about it again. But I never have to say, okay, Caitlin, that's not quite right, because you need to be 3 inches over this way or 5 inches over this way. Never once did I ever have to do that with her. I've never worked with any other performer who's able to do that. And I really do think that it's that dancing training that she's had for so many years that's just absolutely, it's part of Caitlin's soul. It's really incredible. And then when the performance comes out of that, it has that feeling of being so grounded, and it's not there's nothing, you can't fake that. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. You can never fake that kind of physicality.
To shoot the chaos we see on the screen, so as I understand, you shot with your own cameras, right?
Yeah, we have a collection, and I'll let Ramsey speak to this, because it's pretty epic.
Yeah, we're our company, Sublunar Films, we have a lot of cameras. We have a lot of film cameras in particular. I was very fortunate that 10, 12 years ago, when film, quote unquote, died, when everybody was getting rid of their film cameras in favor of digital cameras, I bought up a number of film cameras that I thought at some future point, surely, if they don't make a wonderful doorstop or a museum piece, at least they would be wonderful to have around. But as it happens, people have kind of reverted to film as being like this this wonderful medium, and we love shooting on film. It's simpler in many ways than shooting on digital, because when you're shooting on film, you rehearse, and then you shoot a couple of takes, versus shooting digitally, where you shoot the rehearsal, then you shoot the first take, and then the second take, and then maybe we'll try that again, and then it just sort of, it escalates into suddenly you're in 10 takes. So there is some digital in the film for sure, but whenever we could, we shoot on film, and we shot on 35 millimeter, we shot on Super 16, and we also shot on Super 8. Some of the scenes in the Bar Tarantula, when they're performing on stage, we actually gave the camera to Joe Gaffney, who plays Nick, who's also Deanna's daughter, who actually shot those as if as if she were on stage, and the effect is just totally magic. So film forever.
The creation and development of the film was through art, and in this case, with the flashback sequences where Mia goes back to her childhood, she does go into it sort of through music. So we had the parents, and Mia's parents used to be in a band called the Sweetbirds, the Sweetbird Band from Saskatoon, and they're a traveling folk band that, you know, is having trouble. And Mia can retrieve some of the memories, but not everything, and they're confusing for her. She cannot access them. So we wanted to create a song for this band to sing, and the first thing we did was create music, and the actors worked with each other, creating this duet. The first time that they interacted with each other as the parents in the movie, they had a voice memo that they were sending back and forth that they were harmonizing with. And then when they met, there was already a spark between them. And we shot that on 35 millimeter live with them singing in an old church in the town that I grew up in. So the town that we shot in was where I grew up. It was the beach I used to play on when I was a little kid, and some of the deeper themes of pain and vulnerable things that we were talking about in the films happened in this place. So it's a really special opportunity for me as an artist as well, to go and create art out of this place that I grew up in, but yeah, it was music that brought us into that part of the 70s, and we wanted it to be on film. I wanted it to feel like a 1970s world that we were creating, and we wanted to feel like some of those flashes and things that we were getting. Once we processed the film, we got a really interesting red layer that came out. I guess it was the emulsion has come off or something, and it almost looked like it was thick, like mucusy red with flowers kind of looking imprints, and it came from the film I guess it must have been the end of
artifact.
Yeah.
It was like the artifact of when they were developing the film, and it sort of had this beautiful imperfection. So it felt like, you know, if it was a family member shooting a roll of film and something went wrong with the with the photography, and we just wanted to embrace that. And so the whole idea of that was that we were kind of creating this scrapbook of Mia's family memories, a kind of a family album. And then once we had that family album and we had those images, we were then able to share that with Caitlin as Mia. And so Mia, then that was Mia's past. And so she was able to think about that past, and she was able to have this kind of an album in the sense of she had these memories. So this was like the foundation for Mia's memories of her childhood. This was basically Mia's childhood. Mm-hmm. So that was sort of how we approached it. And I know Caitlin found that really, really wonderful to work with, because she was like, here I am, and it's like I have this family album. And we were also shooting, our crew was also dedicated to shooting stills on film. And so we had this sort of abundance of these wonderful images. And so it kind of added to the feeling that we were creating this kind of family memory from the 1970s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was another collaborative, artful element as well, because some of those photographs that our crew was taking ended up in the movie. Like, we used all of that. So why do I like telling stories this way? That's a really good question, and I'm not entirely sure.
I think I have a way into this. Yeah. So the way that I have a background in documentary film, and when Deanna and I met, we met on a short film, and then we were working on a documentary. And one of the things that were the way that I like to work when building up a story idea with this documentary background is that we like to if we don't know exactly where we're going, we kind of go in search of things. And so we jump in a car with some cameras and we drive to some road trip, or we go in some remote place, and we start gathering images. We look for locations that we find interesting. And we kind of go in search of we often have an inspiration.
Yeah.
It's sort of like we go in search of inspiration. Sometimes we'll have some idea of a story, something that's interesting to us. But a lot of the times the inspiration for the story comes out of locations. And it's super interesting for us to find these places that seem like they're a little bit out of time, or that they're from the past, or that they have a, you know, they're not, it's not just some random building. It's a place that feels like there's some history there. And so we just start to play. We take out our cameras and we shoot some stuff, and we put these things together. And then eventually we start gathering this material and we put it into an edit, and we start looking at things, and we start kind of riffing on what these ideas might be. And as a storyteller, it's sort of like these ideas, they kind of fuse with our own interest in certain subjects, whether it's art or whether it's music, and then we kind of merge them with these places that we find.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's absolutely it. And I think, yeah, I like to pretend and play with the actors. So when I rehearse with actors, we try to land on something that is close to where they comfortably like to be, and then turn up the volume from that point, and kind of work to discover through the best way that works for that performer. Because I feel like some performers go in different ways, where Caitlin goes in physically as a dancer. So a lot of my actors like to have a easy access to emotion through music. So I would play music for them while they're performing, or use songs to bring emotion out of actors. If I'm stuck, I always use music because it's helpful. And then some of my actors do other funny ways where they like to go in through writing or visual collaging. So everybody's going in a different way. So once I sort of land with the actor how they like to play, then I can play with them and give them the freedom and support to do what they do best. So we're working on the character together.
It's character.
It's character. And so it's really nice to be able to be collaborative with the actors on that, and not tell them what they have to do, but work with them on it, so that we're all working together to create the character.
So I think, yeah, just to add a little bit more to that. So it's this interesting thing where Deanna's thinking about character, and I'm sort of starting to think about visual and location, and we're both kind of riffing on both these things at the same time. And that's where the story,
and then it comes together.
Then the story kind of emerges from that. So that's kind of our interest in story, and that's how we work. Yeah, it's like a jamming process. That's how we work up into a story.
It's our art jam.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.